Hey, what's up, Spice Heads? Welcome back to another episode of On the Air, the show that's all about getting IT pros and tech vendors together to geek out over technology. As always, I'm your host, Justin Ong. We've got another great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking all about video conferencing and why, even in the age of selfies, some users might still be creeped out by the concept of it, and what you guys in IT can do to help them feel more comfortable and get better user adoption out of them. So for more on this, we have a great panel of experts for y'all today, including an IT pro from the Spiceworks community, as well as a couple of experts from Logitech. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off with a round of introductions. Our first guest, you guys just saw him and his entire brood on the pre-show. It's his first time on this side of the camera. You guys have seen him in the audience before in the past. But everyone, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ben Setlith. Ben, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Ben, thanks for joining us. Thanks for making the drive down with the whole family. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, of course. I mean, everybody got to see my 7 kids. IT guy at a bank. We do a lot of video conferencing between our branches. And I guess I do pretty much a little bit of everything. Everything from resetting passwords and help desk tickets to fixing servers and setting up networking cabling and everything. Everything in between.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ben. We are looking forward to hearing from you. Our next panelist is from Logitech, also her first time on this side of the camera. She's usually helping us behind the scenes, helping to wrangle the cats and getting the Logitech representatives primed and ready. So we're excited to have her on it as a panelist this time. Please give a warm welcome to Ms. Jen Smith. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. I'm really happy to be here. So I head up our digital initiatives for the video collaboration group over at Logitech, but more importantly, I manage the partnership between Logitech and Spiceworks. I also help manage our advocacy program, and we call those guys our Logitechies. So quick shout out to any of you guys that are are on the air today. We are thrilled to be here and really excited to talk to you guys all about what we have to talk about today. So.
Well, thank you for joining us as well, Jen.
Absolutely.
Last but not least is another representative from Logitech, Mr. Eric Tooley. Eric, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Justin.
Eric, do you mind telling us a little about yourself and what you do for Logitech?
I am the product marketing person for the video collaboration business at Logitech. I'm also kind of a self-proclaimed creepiness expert. I like to think that I'm the intersection of fact and hope, where everything comes together into how stuff might actually
That's beautifully
be
put. Yeah, and in fact, as working with this team the last couple of days, I've come to realize Eric is actually the mastermind behind a lot of the coolest catchphrases at Logitech. Yes. So I think we can expect more brilliance, I think throughout the rest of the show. Is that kind of fair to set that expectation?
Yeah, sure.
One of my favorites that he actually came up with the launch of one of our new products is clear the table, hide the cable, and I thought that was brilliant. And it's a great segue into some of the things we're going to talk about
Which we'll be
today,
showing exactly what that means later on in the show,
Yes,
so we're excited for that. But, of course, what would On The Air be without you guys, the viewers? So for more on that, we're going to kick things over to our favorite chat desk host and yours, Miss Chelsea. Chelsea, what's going on?
Hi, hello. Thank you, Justin. That's right. It's me, Chelsea, your chat desk host. Per the usual, you have questions and we have answers, so be sure to get those questions into Q&A. And we'll be hooking up with some really cool prizes from Logitech today. Now, Logitech is bringing with them a ton of swag and prizes and super grand prizes, so you're going to want to listen close. First of all, we've got $25 Amazon gift cards that we're going to be giving away to a lucky few whose questions I ask live on the air. So that means if you got questions, get them into Q&A now. And then we also have a couple of sweatshirts, a couple of hoodies. They're soft. They've got a great strong zipper. You're always looking for a strong zipper on your hoodie. And then some really cool art in the back. So
Can you talk us through what that artwork is?
It might be NSFW. Some of you are like, yeah, it's just another day at the office. But we've got our Logitech Pants are optional since 1998 video conferencing hoodie here. And we've only got a couple of these. So these are going to go out to a couple of Spice Heads whose questions happen to be the pants optional question. Like your question has to be out of the park and worthy of this pants optional one. So I'll be announcing that sometime during the Q&A segment. So if you've got the pants optional question, that means you're getting the pants optional hoodie. And then grand prizes. We've always got, we usually have one. Lately this year we've been doing 2 or 3 grand prizes. Well, we've got 4 grand prizes that we're giving away. We've got the Rally Plus video conferencing system. This is gonna be our super grand prize. I wasn't sure if we're getting an image. There we are. All right, you've got one lucky Spicehead who's viewing today, who sticks around until the end, is gonna get this Logitech Rally Plus video conferencing system. And then we've got more. We've got more grand prizes because we're also gonna be giving away 3 Logitech Brio webcams. So, no small potatoes on this show. We've got 4 grand prizes, we've got tons of swag, we've got the pants optional hoodies, so you'll wanna get those questions into Q&A and stick around for the chance to win it all. But coming up later in the show, I've also got some winning remarks from you guys, the viewers, the Spiceheads. Earlier this week, I posted in the Spiceworks community asking, what are your users find creepy about video conferencing? Do they find it creepy? Don't they find it creepy? Why and why not? You didn't disappoint. I've got some great responses that I'm going to share later with our panelists to see what their take is on what you guys think about it. And then later in the show, we're also going to be doing a little setup in a mock conference room. Ben and Eric are going to go through and show you how to set up that Rally Plus system to keep it neat, professional, and everything looking good when you're on camera. So you'll want to stick around for that too. Before I pass it back over to Justin, I wanted to give a big shout out to chat. What's up, everyone? Trent the Gent, great question today, CMD led. We had a really fun pre-show with the Set Lift bunch. I'm glad to see that you all tuned in a little early for that. For those of you that are like, what's chat? There's a widget down below. You can open it up. You can come say hello. If you realize chat's not for you, feel free to close it out. But for those of you that stick around, remember to keep the pro and professional and to keep it spicy. Whew. All right, I think I'm ready to sit down. I'm about to get a little shiny over here. I'm starting to sweat. So I'm going to pass it back over to our panelists and Justin to get this conversation on the road.
All right, thank you, Chelsea. You've done enough. I want you to take a seat, get some water, rehydrate a little bit. We'll come back to you in a little bit. Ben, I want to check in with you first. So the prizes that we're giving away today, we're giving away 3 Brios. We're also giving a Rally system. Yeah, you've used all of them. Actually, you have all of them in your environment. Let's talk first about the Rally.
That's probably the biggest prize I've ever seen on one of these shows.
Yeah, can you talk to us about...
I think it's close to $2,500 worth of a prize, and then each of the Brios are another $200 a piece. I don't know how much those hoodies are worth, but I'd spend $100 on them. That's awesome.
And I was going to ask, is the pants optional? Is that an Eric Tooley special?
I wish I could take full credit for it, so I will.
Absolutely.
No, it precedes my time. This is something that we've all been on camera and I've been on camera and have been guilty of this myself before, so.
I do like to wear my pants. Sometimes they are pajama bottoms, I will have to admit, but I do usually have pants on. So.
All right. Well, let's get started into it. So we're here today to talk about, really honestly, user adoption. And, Eric, I wanted to start off with you. You work with a lot of different customers, and it seems in this day and age, we've got folks that we're carrying around cameras in our pockets pretty much 24/7. And yet there's still a conception, a misconception, if you will, for some users around the concept of video conferencing being creepy. Can you talk to us a little about what you have seen with the customers that you work with? Are they often ready as an organization and they're just looking for the perfect technology solution, or are you finding that they need the perfect technology solution to help convince their users to adopt it?
It's great if you have perfect everything, right? But you never have all the money and all the time and all the executive sponsorship that you need to launch something and have it hit the ground running from the get-go. The biggest thing that we have observed is that how we act in our own private lives with our own stuff, our own phones and family and FaceTime, is really different than how we interact with our colleagues. We have our relaxed personal faces, we've got our game faces for work. And we're always considering how we are presenting ourselves to people that we work with, to our bosses, to our customers. And so the stakes are different. And not only are the stakes higher in a lot of places in the workplace, but your environment is not your own. It's not my phone, it's a shared conference room. If I walk in, I don't know if it's gonna be set up correctly, if somebody left something stinky in the trash or coffee cups on the table, or if the TV is set to the wrong input or whatever else. So these are all things that I don't have to worry about if it's my own phone, because I'm the one who turned it off. I know what it's going to be like when I turn it back on. So it's just a different starting point and a different level of stress that you start out with when you're going into the meeting. Even if it's just an in-person meeting, we're all a little amped up for it. But if you've got to join a video conference, it's another layer of complexity.
Ben, let's go to you next. this was a topic that we had also passed through the Logitech advocacy group, which you're a member of. And it was one of the topics that people were like, yes, I'm definitely interested in this. I want to learn more about it. And based on our conversations the other day, it seems like a lot of times with technology deployments, it gets tasked to IT because they're like, well, it's technology, you guys do with it. But they may or may not be the best, equipped from a person, like a people perspective, to actually understand the user adoption element of it. What in your experience, has this been a challenge for you, and why do you feel like other IT pros struggle with it sometimes?
Well, I think from an IT perspective, I don't want to be on camera as much. I'm more of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy, and I think as IT guys go, we probably all feel very similar about that. If I don't want to be on camera, probably everyone else doesn't want to be on camera, and it's really just getting over that hurdle, the mental hurdle of it's okay to be on camera, and it will improve your communication ability and probably speed things up quite a bit, quite dramatically.
So, if IT is in charge of selling this to the users and they themselves haven't been sold on it, it can be kind of a challenge.
It would be a bit of a challenge. And having everything set up and ready to go, that's, getting it prepared in the first place. Make sure it's tested, make sure it works, and then everybody can relax and have a good time.
Jen, what about from your experience? When you joined Logitech, were you already a heavy video conferencing user, or was that something that you had adopted as part of joining an organization?
Yeah, just hearing Ben talk, I'm actually on the opposite spectrum of that, because I heard in the community a lot of the IT pros don't like it themselves. For me personally, I work remote, and so it allows me the opportunity to have that personal connection with the coworkers that are in California or in Europe or Asia, whoever I might be connecting with. And so, but to go back to answer your question specifically, was I a heavy video conferencing user? No, we would use FaceTime for my kids to call their grandparents, but for professionally, I was not using it in the workplace. But one of the things that really helped shift my mindset was preparing my home office to be in a video meeting. And so I have these really inexpensive IKEA cabinets behind me where I can close up my mess. But they also have a great white gloss that bounces the natural light from the window off of it, so the room always looks bright. It looks like a place that I feel comfortable going to work and being on video, and I think that helped a lot. But it was a transition. I think the more you use it and get used to it, you really can start focusing on the value of it versus feeling uncomfortable on the camera.
And Eric, do you, circling back, what have you guys found as the most common hangups for users? What are the main reasons why folks might be a little bit hesitant to be heavy users of video conferencing?
Few of us like how we look on camera. Let's be honest.
You look so good on camera, though, Eric.
Eric's like, I'm not one of them, but some of you guys.
I'd like to shout out to Beth in makeup for the powder. It really, because otherwise you'd have light bouncing off the natural surface.
I don't see any shine on your forehead at all. You're
Yeah,
good.
technology. Everyone's self-conscious. This is a natural thing. This is not an IT pro versus executive versus end user thing. We all care about how we appear to other people. And the weird thing about being on video conferencing, unlike sitting here, is that you don't know if someone's looking at you or not. So there's a real advantage. There's a network effect when it comes to video conferencing. If everyone turns on their camera, you all feel like you're on a level playing field. This would be the first cheap tip of the day. If you're not thrilled with the idea of having your face be huge on some monitor when you join a conference and you're presenting, start sharing your screen first and then turn on your camera. Your screen share is going to take up 80% of the real estate on that display, and then your video will be a little picture-in-picture off to the side. So if you don't want to be that big head on screen, just share your deck or your spreadsheet first.
That's a good tip. And do you feel like other users would agree with Jen, where it's like the context makes a lot of difference? Like people, like Jen had said, don't really have a problem FaceTiming their mom. And yet, when you ask them to sit in a meeting space and have a conversation with a customer, a partner, a client, that changes the game a little bit. Now they're a little bit more guarded. Do you feel like that's the case, and what can be done about it?
That's absolutely the case. This is a problem with being overscheduled with too many meetings in the first place. A lot of us feel like if we're in a meeting, particularly if we're taking it remotely, I can be multitasking, working on what I need to do for my next meeting or what I should be doing if I weren't invited to this meeting. And in some companies, they've got a policy, like if you're in person, no laptops open on the table. I don't know if that's a rule here at Spiceworks,
It
but
should be.
yeah, depending on the manager at Logitech, I know that our boss likes everyone to have their laptops closed because he wants people to be focused in the meeting. That said, it's really quite typical when you're in a meeting like this, like, oh, I've got to do something, I've got to respond to something on my phone. We're always multitasking somewhat. And just because you're in a video conference doesn't mean that you're on television. You have to be holding this, because we're not movie stars, right? This is not the point of video conferencing.
Ben is, yeah.
Plan on being something.
Yeah, 9 is enough. Maybe 10.
Maybe 10.
Yeah, so we're not movie stars. But this is not meant to be television. This is meant to feel as natural and normal as coming into a room with physical people. It's not as good as being physically co-located, but it is much better than being at the dark end of a phone line where you really don't know what someone thinks of what you're saying. Like, I can see you nodding, you can tell you're ready for me to be done. But if this was just on the phone, I could be droning on and extending the length of the point I'm trying to make.
You don't see me staring at my watch.
Right, you already agree, we know to move on. Or if you disagree, I know that I need to change tactics. It's so important to be able to see not just hearing what people have to say, but see how they're hearing what you say.
The nonverbal is big.
Yeah. And Jen, I wanted to go back to one thing you had mentioned, which is around the idea of leadership backing and executive sponsorship. I feel like we get that tip a lot, and maybe with specific to video conferencing, you can kind of help. If we do have an executive that's like, I want this to be a success, whatever I can do to help you guys, let me know. What should IT pros be asking their executives when it comes to buy-in? What are the specifics that they should be asking for?
Money, because you got to have the budget
helpful.
to deploy it, right? But I think that when we talk about having an executive sponsor or leadership, I think it's more about developing the company culture and getting the company used to conducting meetings over video versus the traditional audio or in person. Obviously, if you can do it in person, that's the best. But when you can't, having those video meetings can really help bridge that gap. But really, it's about setting the company culture and getting the senior leadership conducting their meetings by video. And I know you mentioned over at the bank, your CEO.
He's big on it.
He's big on it, and he loves it. And I think that really starts to help other people feel comfortable with it, but also just having it start at the top is great, and then everybody can start getting comfortable using it more often. So.
And that's a great point about the money. The
money.
original setup that we were quoted, I think was $25,000 per boardroom to get it all set up, and the Logitech system is a tenth of that, $2,500 to get, and that's everything. It's all done.
Yeah, and that's something that we're really proud of too. We try to make the video conferencing products that we develop affordable without losing any of the quality of the audio and video. So you can really scale it and have video available in all the conference rooms and all the meeting rooms.
Ben, you had just mentioned that your executive is a big proponent of video conferencing. What do you feel like are the things that he or she does to help promote video conferencing within the culture of your office?
Well, the boardrooms, when they were designed, because we built quite a few of our buildings when we expanded to each branch, they were all designed around VC. Even though we didn't have the funds to implement that at the time, that's what they were designed for. They were the boardroom. There's a giant TV at one end. There's a camera down there, or the place for a camera. Everything's set up, place for speakers, and place for mics. And it was that's the main part, is getting it all set up and ready for it and designing it around that. Then, since we've started doing it a little bit more. Pretty much all the meetings are done that way, so they can be broadcast to all the other branches.
I think that's great, but I also don't want to scare all the IT pros that are on the call that if you don't have a room that was designed for video conferencing, you can't use it, because our conference cameras are USB plug and play, and so they really are easy to set up and use, so you don't have to have a room that was designed just for video conferencing. So that is awesome that you guys have gone to that next level and you're starting to outfit all the rooms that way, and that's the ideal.
What a
right?
great segue for cheap tip number 2.
Which is?
Yeah, which is not a Logitech product. The best way that you can feel better about how you look on camera, whether it's in your home office or in a conference room, is to put a light source by the camera. It can be a desk lamp on your desk or a floor lamp in a conference room, but if the lamp is where the camera is, and when you're looking at the camera, you're well lit. Right. Most of the time, we're lit with overhead lighting. We're all beautifully lit here at the Spiceworks studio, but in most conference rooms, they're not designed that way. And so having an extra source of light, or if you've got, say, a rally camera or a Brio that will automatically adjust to backlighting and glare, that helps a lot. But you don't have to buy new equipment to improve the user experience and to like how you look better on camera.
Eric, we talked about ease of use. I think so far when it comes to making users comfortable, it seems like what we've been talking about is getting over the self-consciousness of it. But is the technology, how much does that play into this level of self-awareness and self-consciousness?
The technology needs to be completely transparent because if you have to operate it, then you're thinking about the tools and you're not thinking about the topic of the meeting. So you should be able to walk into a meeting, into a conference room. Maybe you've got a touch controller like the new Logitech Tap, and you just touch join, and you're in the meeting. You don't have to worry about turning something on. What's the pairing code? What's my host ID? How do I aim the camera? All that stuff should just work for you so that you don't have to think about it. And then what you're thinking about is the people that you're talking to and the work that you have to accomplish. The US government and a number of institutions did studies back when people were using cell phones in their cars and were like blowing through stop signs and crashing into people. And this distracted driving was a big deal. And they did studies as to, well, why? Why is it? Is it because we only have one hand on the wheel? Well, when they looked at people who are using wireless headsets or hands-free headsets, same accident rates.
Yeah.
Just as bad. And it's not a matter of manual dexterity, it's a matter of focus and attention. When you talk to someone that you can't see, you're taking about 20% of your brain power to visualize that person, even not literally. But you're thinking about them. We've all done this, like been on the phone and we blow past our exit. This happens.
That just happened to me last week. And I was hands-free and I went right past it and I thought, I just missed my exit. But it's because I was trying to visualize the person on the other end that I couldn't see.
And when you think about the amount of time and effort and money that we spend on trying to put together our team of coworkers and your employees and your colleagues, you want 100% of their brains coming into the meeting to come up with a better solution to a problem more quickly. Like one of our partners, Blue Jeans Networks, has some statistics where they can measure the length of a meeting with video versus the length of a meeting without video. An hour-long meeting, when video is on with the majority of participants, ends in about 36 minutes on Blue Jeans. If you have less than a 50% video, it takes an extra 10 minutes. It's really a very clear return on investment. It makes the $25,000 a room actually seem pretty cheap when you consider how much.
Except we're not $25,000 a room.
Even so. Yeah, even so. Well, it makes something less expensive a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But the idea here is that the real cost is not being able to see who you're talking to.
Yeah.
That's what's expensive. The equipment, this is nominal.
Yeah, I want to come back to the question that you asked around the technology making a difference because a few years ago when I would walk into a video room, I literally felt like we got to have IT there because there's a cable's going to be missing. Maybe somebody moved the camera to a different room. So for the IT pros, I think it's really important to make the room a consistent environment. Make sure that the components, the conference cameras that are going to be in that room, stay in that room. They don't move around. So when the users get in there, they know what to expect. It's a consistent technology environment. They know they literally can just come in and start the meeting. There's not something missing that's going to require them to just jump straight in, because I think that has a lot to do with why there's hesitancy to use video, because the meetings aren't going to start on time, whereas if they just dial into audio, there it goes. So
that's an excellent point. I didn't bring it in, but I call it my Jack Bauer bag. It's got everything in it. I've got one of every type of cable for exactly that. Hey, we need a RJ 45 to whatever it is, whatever it is.
Dongle, yeah.
Yeah, everyone need an adapter. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I've got one of those. Here it is.
Yeah.
But I've got it out in the van. But I just didn't bring it in.
Hopefully we won't need it here.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Well, we do want to make sure that we're going to be having Eric and Ben walk us through kind of what a conference room is set up. But before we go any further, we've been talking about our own experiences about dealing with users overcoming the creepiness or just self-consciousness of using video conferencing. But we actually asked y'all in the community what your thoughts and experiences were. Chelsea made a post. Chelsea, did we get any good responses?
Any good responses? Of course we did. It's the Spiceworks community. So yeah, earlier this week I posted asking, are your users creeped out by video conferencing? Why or why not? We've got a ton of great responses. And I really wanted to just, I think together, Lee, Justin, and I picked out a few of our favorites, and I wanted to run them by our panel today. Starting off, we've got one from Unicorns. Unicorn says, I'm not a huge fan of video conferencing. Our users aren't either. If it's avoidable, I avoid it. It's hard to read the room and the individual you're conferencing with without being physically present. Also, it's a bit distracting being able to see yourself on the screen, whereas normally you'd be completely focusing in on the other individual. This is probably a common thing that people feel about it. What do you guys think?
Jen, I think we were just talking about this. What do you have to say for folks that have had that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of being uncomfortable has, Ben mentioned this earlier. It's just trying it and getting used to it, and really just getting comfortable, I think, with the equipment and the idea of being on video. So I know we heard from a lot of people that they just don't like it and they aren't going to use it, but really you just got to dip your toe in the water and start trying it.
And like
for it
we
to
said
feel
with Ben, it's
comfortable.
like you got to sell it internally to your IT department. Otherwise, they'll never be able to sell
That's
it
right.
to their users either.
That's right.
What else have we got? Any other good responses?
I think this one might even support the kind of advice that y'all are given. C. Wills 14 says, when it comes to planned video conference meeting, users know what to expect. They are well trained to prepare ahead of time in case of any technical difficulties with connection. They have complained about the size of the video windows when conferencing several offices. Surprisingly, one of the complaints is that they want to see themselves on video as well, which personally I find odd, and probably Unicorns would agree with you, C. Wills. Why do you need to see yourselves on video when you can turn and look around the room? However, when it comes to each user's machine, they are definitely creeped out. The majority of users have stickies covering their video cameras. They fear that someone is watching them without their knowledge. So I'm in that pool. I've got something on my camera here at home. I definitely have stickies on all of my cameras because I'm paranoid in that way. So I think that would be a good thing to kind of talk a little bit about.
Even though you're on camera literally for a living, you still...
It's only from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central.
See, it's literally everyone. It doesn't matter, right? But I do have a great response to that. Our webcams actually have shutters on them where you can close them, so you don't have to put the sticky note up there. You can just close the shutter when it's not in use. I know there are some privacy concerns when it comes to being on video. We heard that in the community as well. And then our new Rally camera actually goes to sleep. It actually points down when it's not in use.
It looks like the Pixar lamp. It's pretty adorable, like when it goes to sleep.
Yes, so it goes to sleep when it's not in use, and you don't have to worry about, okay, now, because you do use the meeting rooms even whenever you're not video conferencing, and then you don't have to worry about it being on and watching anything in the room, although it won't be on unless you see the light turned on, but I know people still think it is. So.
All right, Chelsea, let's get one more for now,
Okay. This one is from Ian Adams. We use various forms of video conferencing all of the time, and I've never heard one person complain about it being creepy. Maybe because healthcare was an early adopter, not sure, but we have no problem with it. And I'd wonder how much of this is an older versus younger generation issue, as I can't imagine people who are growing up with FaceTime, video conferencing, etc., have an issue with this.
I thought this one was interesting because they mentioned healthcare being an early adopter. Do you guys find that? Like, are there certain industries that are more primed to be receptive to video conferencing than others?
I do believe that definitely education, higher education, they're using it as a form of connecting with students that are remote. And so we find education is definitely an early adopter. Telemedicine is a really exciting space, and so we find them also being an early adopter of this technology. But in terms of it being older users versus younger generation, I actually haven't found that to be true. Even though the younger generation, our millennials that are out there, they feel really comfortable using their own phone. I think it goes back to what Eric said. That's their device.
Yeah.
And so when you walk into a work environment and you're just not sure if the technology is going to work, that goes back to, okay, IT guys, let's make sure that it's consistent for them. So when they walk in, it's not uncomfortable or they're afraid it's not going to work the right way.
Do you feel like the design and form factor plays into it as well? Because I also feel like, we watch these press conferences where they talk about the iPhone 27 or whatever has a brand new camera, so it's like elevated, it's put on a pedestal, and then you show up to work and people wheel in like a cart full of like 20-year-old video conferencing. Like, does that play a difference versus if it's something like kind of sleek, like we're about to go see, that could play a difference as well, and how?
I think so. I mean, if you see a cart full of all these cables and devices, you're immediately going to get anxiety if you're not the IT person that's connecting all of those. Plus, your meeting is not going to start when it's supposed to start, so that plays into it as well. But as I mentioned earlier, our products, literally you take the USB and plug it in. It's pretty simple, especially for those users that are working remote and on a desktop and they want to use a better webcam. To have a better experience, you literally just plug it in to the USB. So they're really simple to use, but I do think when there starts to become a lot of components, the anxiety level starts going up.
All right, well, speaking of conference room setups, we've got Ben and Eric over on the third set to kind of walk us through what setting up a rally system is like, depending on the conference room that you've got. So Eric and Ben, you kind of walk us through what people can expect.
Awesome. Look at this. It's a conference table. What's missing? There's no speakerphone in the middle of it. The last thing that you want in a conference is to be facing the screen and having voices coming from behind your back. This kind of probably adds to the creep factor of just feeling kind of unnatural. So you've got Rally.
We have a Rally.
You talked about it before. How did you set it up for audio?
Of course, my computer and the display hub are all hidden behind the display. I have one speaker to the left, one speaker to the right on our Rally Plus system. The micropods are just one at the end of the table, one at the other end of the table, where they can string under the table. Nearly everything is completely hidden. The table display hub is underneath, mounted underneath. That's all they see. When someone's speaking, the voice comes from the speakers and from the direction of the display, from the direction of their face, and they talk right back to them. It's just like they're in the same room.
So you mentioned the hub. We've got a couple examples of the hubs here. So this is the table hub. This is the guy that you've got installed underneath the table. So what plugs into the back of this?
Everything has its own slot, as you can see up there. HDMI inputs, if somebody actually wants to display from here what's on their laptop. The Cat 6 cable that runs to the display hub. Power cable. Effectively everything has its own spot. It's easy to set up. I think it took me about 10 minutes the first time from unboxing.
And then here's the display hub here. This goes behind, you've got this behind the TV.
It's mounted behind there and everything's run from there. The one cable that connects the display hub to the table hub is under a rug, so don't have to worry about it getting pulled or kicked out of the wall or anything. And of course the speakers plug in there and everything else. I mean, they're oddly similar, but it's really simple. Really easy to set
this
up.
one's bigger because it's got the amplifier for the for the speakers, and these are HDMI outputs, so you can have one or two displays in the room, and then just a Cat 6 cable connects these two, and it could be what 50 meters, 50 meters
50
long.
meters, Cat 6.
Yeah, that's a big room.
It is a big room.
An opportunity to put wiring through the ceiling or through conduit or whatever else.
And I think the
get it off
mics can stretch even further than that. It's a 10-foot cable, and those can chain together, right?
Yeah, you can have up to 7 mics if you've got a big room, maybe like with a U-shaped table.
70-foot board table, yeah.
Right.
Or you, yeah.
Yeah, or a 70-foot board table. What I like about these mic pods is that it's a very convenient way to stab at the mute button without like trying to find the remote control and muting, because oftentimes you have a quick sidebar conversation when someone else is talking, and of course they light up red.
Something you don't want your boss to hear, so you got to mute it right quick.
Well, right, yeah, or maybe someone has to sneeze. You quickly sneeze. Oh, creep factor tip number 3. No, we were talking about cheap tips before. Speaker tracking. It makes for a great demo. This is when the camera follows a person based on their voice. If you were doing lecture capture, like you're walking back and forth across the front of a stage or classroom, it's great to have like an automated cameraman. But for a back and forth conversation like this, best case you're going to have this ping pong effect, and people at the far end are going to be kind of
Cameras going all over the place.
a little bit seasick from that. Worst case, cold and flu season. Yeah. The moment that is when you're
It's nasty,
on
yeah.
close-up. So please, if you bought it, disable it. If you haven't disabled it already, if there's a mode to frame instead of follow, that's a much friendlier option to do it. We call it right sight with our cameras, but the idea here is that you want to include everyone in the room in frame, but you don't necessarily want to focus on a person or zoom in as they talk, because
Exactly.
no one wants the eye of Sauron to be like glaring
Right
at
on top
them.
of you the whole time.
Right, because it's already hard enough to speak in front of your colleagues. Maybe you're presenting your slides or a proposal. The last thing you want is to be distracted or feel more self-conscious because the camera is literally focused on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you use Microsoft there at Lone Star Bank. So I wanted to give all the spice heads a preview. We mentioned this earlier. This is Logitech Tap. I've got an example of it under here. Maybe we can zoom in on this. But this is the new touch controller for room systems. And so Microsoft Teams rooms, formerly known as Skype Room Systems or SRS, there's a room-optimized version of that software. So that when you've got a tap plugged in to the meeting room computer, the whole control interface for joining the meeting, adding people, hanging up, it's all presented here on a screen that the user can just come in, tap the join button.
Everything comes on.
And they're in the meeting. Of course, the cables come out the bottom, they go through a grommet. You can have everything hidden away. And so the only stuff that you've got on the table in a room like this would be stuff that the users care about.
Stuff they need, information.
The mic pods for their voice, meeting room control, and then the rest is space for their own laptops, their own notes. There's not a computer on the table with cables snaking off it. Smart dock. There's none of this, none of these snakes or nests of cables. Everything is out of the way. And that's a great way to kind of take the distractions of the tech away from the meeting environment and make it feel more familiar.
Absolutely.
So people come in and they feel more comfortable and more confident.
Yeah. Everybody likes that. I mean, it's clean. Everybody likes clean.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have a question for you guys. The setup that you've got going on right there, about what size conference room or about how many users would something like that support?
We have one of our rooms is an 8. We have an 8 in there, and I've set it up in our big one, which is 16.
Okay.
And it's worked beautifully in both.
Just to clarify, that's with the rally that they were showing,
Yes,
not
the
the
rally.
tap that's on the table
Got it,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tab you can add to any Microsoft Teams room, Zoom room, or Google Hangouts room. But yeah, the Rally Plus system, that's our super grand prize. We rate that for 16 people.
Yeah.
And of course, you can add additional mic pods, up to 7 of them. Each mic pod gives you another 6 people of capacity, so up to 46. It's a pretty big room.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not what you call a lecture hall or an auditorium, but for the biggest conference rooms you're likely to have.
That's most public school classrooms are about 30 to 40.
True.
Cool. Well, there you go. Well, all right, guys, I understand we got a ton of questions coming in from the audience as well, so let's kick it back over to Chelsea and find out what folks would like to know.
Thanks, Justin. That's right. Q&A has literally, I think, blown up. There are so many questions that are coming in. We have I don't know if Lee is doing his best to keep up, but right now we have 155 questions and counting. I feel like everyone's going to be a winner today because I shared some of your stories earlier that you posted in the community. If I shared your story, you're going to be getting a $10 Amazon gift card. I will re-announce those names at the end of the show. For this segment, of course, if I ask your question live on the air, you're going to be in the running for some super cool swag from Logitech. So keep your ears open, and at the end of the show, I'll announce who our winners are. You'll be getting those $25 Amazon gift cards. And then sometime throughout this Q&A segment, Lee and I are picking some pants optional worthy questions. So during this segment itself, I'm going to let you know if you are the proud winner of our pants optional Logitech hoodie. Super soft, super sleek, super snarky. So let's get the show on the road because, as I said, we have so many questions to get through. The first question on deck, as I scroll all the way back up the page, is from Jeff J1111. Can the touch controls be programmed by humans, or is it all proprietary like other systems where you must send it in to the shop? Thanks.
There's no programming that's needed for systems with Logitech Tap because they're designed to work with the room-optimized versions from Microsoft, Google, and Zoom. So they've already created the user interface that is familiar and is consistent with the desktop application that everyone uses on their own laptops. So there's not a controlling process. This is not like a a Crestron or an Extron controller that has its own programming language or API. You're not going to automate the blinds,
Yeah.
right? Or the screen to come down. This is all focused on getting in and out of the meetings simply and quickly.
Yeah. And I did just want to comment on Tap because Eric shared the product and we got a question on it. We announced it last month in February, and we will have bundle and product availability from our partners in the May timeframe. So I just wanted to, you can find more information about it at logitech.com/tap, but the product availability will be around May.
So if folks already own the Rally system, they'll be able to add the Tap to it, and that's totally configurable.
Yeah, if you've got Microsoft Teams Room, Zoom Room, or Google Hangouts Meet hardware deployment, or you're thinking about it, this is a great way to make that simple and easy, because so far there's not been an easy way to have the desktop optimized software that we're all using personally kind of merged with something that we all share. And so we've tried to solve this problem by how do we get the controls within easy reach of the user in a form factor that is sturdy enough and is designed for commercial deployment. We've tried putting iPads in conference rooms. They get unplugged. They get borrowed. Take your child to work day, they're gone, right? We've tried just third-party, touchscreen monitors. They tend to be connected to computers with pretty short cables, right? And so you have to have the computer there, right there on top of the table, and just this nest of cables that's sprouting out from that, and the noise and the heat and all the mess that involves. So we made sure that we've got a 10-meter cable that ships with Tap, so you can hide the PC behind the display like you've done, Ben, or under the table, or wherever else it's out of the way. So we've had to solve a lot of problems from a topology point of view to make the user experience work out, and this is something that if you are a Google, Microsoft, or Zoom shop, definitely something that you should be looking into because it's far easier for the end user.
All right, Chelsea, let's get another question, please.
Alrighty, this one is coming in at you from Dan A7234. Dan wants to know, we have a meetup installed in our conference room. Jennifer made a comment about IT has to be there. How can I train/make users feel more comfortable organizing and utilizing our meetup solution better?
I think that in our resource center, so if you go to logitech.com/VC, in our resource center, we have a lot of great tools. And I think that as an IT pro, providing them some of those tools. I know in the resource widget today, we posted something, the 10 best tips to feel comfortable using video. Give that to your employees to use. But if you have a meetup in the room, you can actually go to our setup videos. And they're just these animated videos. There's no words to them. It's just visually showing you, here's how you hook it up. Because maybe they get into the room and it's unplugged, and they need to know how to plug it back in. So share that out if that's the product that you have. So I think that those resources would be great for your employees, for those of you that have meetups.
Cool. All right, let's get some more questions, Chelsea.
This next one's in from Jay Bells. What's up, Jay? Do I need a different type of camera for each different room? Single user, huddle room, boardroom, conference room? Or is there a one-size-fits-all?
Oh, I love this question.
That's a great question.
I love this question because, yes, you do need different cameras, but you don't need a huge range of cameras, right? So a desktop webcam, it's not going to be a zoom lens. It's not going to be mechanical because it needs to be small and relatively inexpensive. But when you go into a small conference room, like that meetup room from the previous questioner, people are sitting fairly close to the camera. So you want to have a wide-angle lens so that everyone is in frame. When you get to a bigger room, however, that wide-angle lens, people sitting at the end of the table are going to appear about this big. And what's the point of being on video if people are just an inch high? That's when you want a bigger camera with a longer lens like Rally so that people are relatively more similar in their apparent size. And then the camera is motorized and has a wider range of motion and zoom to identify and frame the people who are in the conference room.
So even if you're not doing the speaker tracking, the way that the camera lens works, it'll appear more even as far as the sizes of people's faces than
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, you can try to fake stuff up with digital panning and zooming,
Yeah.
and there's some products out there, some video bars that have like a webcam that's been kind of integrated into them. They're trying to do it all digitally, which is an inexpensive way to do it, but you end up kind of having a skewed view if you're trying to do only digital panning instead of having a mechanical lens that can aim to where people are sitting. And once you start doing a lot of video processing, people start to look like not themselves.
Yeah, so just to come back to the question, on the different types of rooms, if you have remote workers like myself, the Brio is great for your desktop. If you have maybe you're a small, medium business and you've got 4 smaller huddle rooms, Meetup is perfect for that. And you've got 1 large meeting room or boardroom, Rally's the perfect camera for that room.
All right, cool. Let's get some more questions, Chelsea.
I'm going to share a comment from the Peanut Gallery. Mr. Lee Young has chimed in. He pinged me on Teams right now. And he says, I wonder the chances their movement and sound tracking cameras will eventually be used in Skynet.
Skynet.
Things to think about, Lee. Thank you. A lot of room for thought there. But while we're, cutting to the next question, I wanted to let you know that we have our first pants optional hoodie winner question coming up. This one is from Kay Skipper. Kay Skipper wants to know, what's the best angle to place the camera? I always feel like people are looking at my nose or my head is at an odd angle and my chin looks fat. It's embarrassing.
That is a very pants optional.
Yeah, if you like
question.
double chins, then set it down here next to your coffee mug.
Is there a pretty filter? I mean,
genetics.
That's what we need.
That's
Some
really all you
Snapchat
got.
filters on the Logitech.
Yeah, but I'd say higher is better.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm setting it up, and I usually set it on top of the monitor and raise the monitor up high to where I'm looking either eye level or above.
Yeah.
Slightly above.
Yeah, there's a certain point in everyone's adolescence when you stop taking pictures from below, and you realize, well, no, you need to find your light, or if you're me, you need to look up at the sky, right? So exactly right. The closer the camera is to eye level, then the better off you'll be, and it will be more natural because that's how we're accustomed to looking at each other, is making eye contact. Yes. Oh, cheap trip. Am I on 4 tips now?
I think so.
Cheap
Yeah.
tip or cheap trip?
Either way, this is a cheap trip and a cheap trick and a cheap tip. When you do have people who are remote, and speaking of eye contact, it's very natural to look at the people that you're talking to, but don't forget, you have to look and make eye contact with people who are at the far end as well, to make sure that they feel like they're connected in the meeting. Now, you don't want to stare at them for too long, because that's creepy. But it is very typical. Look at someone for 3 to 5 seconds as you make your point, go to the next person, engage with them for a few seconds, and then make sure that you don't forget to engage the people at the far end, because the whole point of having video conferencing in rooms is not for the benefit of us. It's for the benefit of people who are working from their home office or who are on the road, who have decided that it's more important for them to be available for their kids' recital than it is to be stuck in commute traffic just because they had to drive to the meeting and then drive home.
All right, let's get a couple more questions, Chelsea.
okay, I'm doing back-to-back pants optional questions. So we got our second pants optional hoodie winner, and it's going out to Mark Payton for his question, which is for Jennifer. Jennifer, did you have any in-office users who were reluctant to conference with you? I tried this for a while, and the problem was not my discomfort, but the discomfort of folks in the office, even though they always had their game face on when I was there.
I think that is a great question, and it just goes back to people feeling comfortable on it. Do they feel comfortable or not? Some people are going to feel comfortable with it and others aren't. At Logitech, we are very much a video culture. We make video conferencing products, and so it is definitely our default way to conduct meetings. But I also manage the advertising and media for our group, and I work with a lot of media agencies. And I do find that sometimes they, initially feel really, like, they're going to get on video, and and maybe they're comfortable with it, and then them actually using it kind of falls off for whatever reason. And I think that it's just a matter of continuing to try it and getting used to the technology, because I do think that it really is a really personal thing. As Eric mentioned earlier, when you're at work, there's a lot at stake sometimes, depending on who you're talking to. So I have found reluctancy with it, but hopefully our tips today that we're providing will help give people more confidence to use it.
It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can join a meeting, turn on your camera, wave hello to everybody and say, hey, I'm here if you need me, I'm working on something else, say my name if you need my attention, and then just
Yeah.
put yourself on
Well,
mute.
I turn my video off sometimes because honestly, I'm having lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I have a meeting that's scheduled through lunch and I need to eat. So I'll come on and I'll wave hello and I'll turn the video off so people don't have to see me eating.
I think a lot of us have behaviors that we don't want
yeah.
to be recorded or seen
Yeah.
on camera, whether
But
it's popping your knuckles or
Yes.
nose.
Well, hopefully you guys aren't picking your nose on
hopefully
video.
not.
But
I mean, it is like muting yourself before you cough. It's the same
Exactly.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Just
Exactly.
visually.
Yes.
instead of-
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, too, for those of you that really don't feel comfortable conducting all your meetings by video, there's a lot of value in turning off the video but using the content sharing capabilities
Yeah.
because you're able to collaborate that way, sharing documents and things that you might be working on, and that's another visual way to connect without actually having the video on. So I think that that's a great way to use it, too.
Cool. All right, Chelsea, let's get a couple more.
Okay, good, because I've got a couple more.
Yes.
This next one's from Dim Forrest. What's up, Dim? Is the Rally compatible with Linux systems?
Yes. Yes, Rally is compatible with any computer that can recognize a USB webcam and speakerphone. And that includes Chrome OS, Mac OS, and Windows. In terms of have we tested it and QA'd it with every flavor of all the different Linux builds out there, we have our list of, these are the 3 things that we QA ourselves. But anything that is already compliant with standards, you can test it with your own webcam. And if it recognizes a webcam, very likely it'll recognize Rally.
So if you're on some super obscure distro of Linux, you're just
Then,
hope and pray.
then you've made specific
already-
specific decisions for that anyway, and then you just have to do a cost-benefit analysis. The more standardized you are, the better off you will be. And there are features that are available with mainstream OS that you're not going to get on a specific distro, like our right-side auto-framing launched on Windows 10. Next up will be Mac OS. Following that will be Chrome OS. But of course, we go for the most good of the most people first, and it gradually will trickle down to smaller constituencies.
All right, Chelsea, let's give one more, 2 more? 2. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, Berto007 wants to say and ask, our biggest problem is getting short notice for meetings. How will your solution help when IT is given short notice to set up a conference?
I think to be clear, we don't want IT to have to
No.
attend all these meetings, right? Like that's the
No.
goal,
Shouldn't
right?
be involved at all, especially with the tap.
Yeah, well, and so maybe we
Good to
have
go.
that, have Ben answer that. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel, based on the video conferencing solutions you've had, either, your experience with Logitech or just tips in general, how do you remove IT from the equation,
And like I said, it's kind of like disaster recovery. As
Yeah.
long as everything's set up and tested and ready to go, then really you shouldn't be involved at all. I mean, it should all already be there with the tap or with what we have set up right now is a wireless keyboard and mouse. If someone needs to use it, and it's good to go.
Well, I've got a question, because I did want to give Ben a chance to kind of weigh in here. Have you ever been asked last minute to come in and set up a video conferencing system so that people can have a real quick call because maybe they were hopping into like a huddle room and they're like, hey, there's no conference rooms left. Can you help us, Ben? We're in a real bind.
Absolutely. We had a big board meeting in early morning, and then there was another meeting scheduled for 10 o'clock. Board meeting ran long, so I had to run in there. I had about 6 minutes, but I moved the entire Rally system from there to our boardroom, to our smaller conference room, a huddle room, I think
In
it's
10
called.
minutes?
In about 6 minutes.
See?
But it was USB. I plugged in the display hub first, and it was all plugged in and
Yeah.
recognized by the time I got everything else moved.
I just for the IT pros that are listening today, if you aren't sure how quickly you can get a Logitech system set up in your room, not this past Spice World, but the one before that, we actually chose people, and we did a session, and we chose people out of the audience who were not expecting to do this. We had 2 tables, and we had them come and set up video systems, and they did it in a matter of minutes.
That's awesome.
So it really is, we are trying to make products that are simple, not only for the end user, but especially for the IT pros to get set up. So check that video
was
out.
easy,
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're pulling your cabling through conduit and raceways, then you're not going to want to have to pull all that out and unplug it. So we've got a product called Conference Cam Connect. It's a conference cam and speakerphone built in. It even has a battery inside it. So it doesn't even need its own power supply if it's charged up. And that is a great thing just to have docked in a closet so that if somebody needs to grab it and take it to a huddle room, they
Yeah, or you want to travel with it.
Yeah.
It's mobile, so you can take it.
All right, Chelsea, I think we have time for one more quick question.
One more, and it's from Alan Stoddard. For remote/home workers, is the Brio a good place to stop, or is a Logitech headset a good addition to minimize noise?
Did he ask that because he wants the sweatshirt? Or that?
What kind of noises are you going to be making?
Questions about, like, should we be using headsets for these video conferences? Is that the way things are moving, or is that kind of a way of the past because these systems have been upgraded so much?
It's probably the environment that you're in. If you need the noise cancellation, if you're in a noisy coffee shop and you need to cancel out that background noise, I think the Echo does quite a bit of, or not the Echo, the Meetup has echo cancellation stuff built into it. So
I think you're right. If you're in an office environment, you're going to want to block out some of the sound around you. I work from home and don't have that sound around me, so I actually don't use a headset at home. But I definitely think there are environments where it's going to help with the experience because the person on the other side's not going to hear all that background noise in the work environment. So it really depends on where you are.
Yeah, I use a USB speakerphone in my home office. It's nice not to have a headset. A headset is always going to be better. Maybe it's the one that came with your phone and you're using your phone for the video conference, or maybe it's a USB one from Logitech or somebody else. Anything is better than the mic and speakers that are built into your laptop. No matter how nice your laptop is, that is not a place where manufacturers are going to put in extra money, because we don't comparison shop laptops on how good the mic and speakers are when we're at Best Buy or on Amazon.com. So a $50 speakerphone is going to upgrade your $1,500 MacBook Pro like you would not believe.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. A ton of great questions, so thanks everyone for chiming in on that. As we're starting to run out of time, I did want to give you guys one last opportunity to share some final thoughts or advise Ben. For folks that are watching today, want to know how to get their users to be less creeped out and have better user adoption for video conferencing. Any tips from you?
I guess acknowledge your quirks. If you have to scratch something, mute the thing. If you have quirks like popping your knuckles or anything, just focus on not doing that. Rub your thumbs together. I don't know if you noticed I was doing that the whole time. I know a lot of people have the habit of looking at themselves on the monitor instead of looking at the camera. But it's just acknowledge those things and try to get prepared mentally.
Just accept that we all do it, right?
Yeah, everybody does it, and it's going to happen.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Cool. Jen, any parting words from you that you'd like to share?
I think that for me, I work in the marketing team over at Logitech, and we want to make sure that we are giving our IT pros all the tools that they need to get their job done well. And so if you head over to logitech.com/VC in our resource center, we have, if you need a video to help convince your CEO that, your company needs to move to that. There are tons of customer stories out there that you can share with them. We have really simple, as I mentioned previously, videos that show you how to set up every single one of our products, and just a lot of tools about room deployment and how to configure things in the right way. So check that out, because we want to make sure that what we're doing or what we're providing is going to help you. And if you need something that isn't there, please reach out to me directly. Kyle is our green guy in the community. You can reach out to him, and we'll create it for you. Just let us know what you need, because we want to make your jobs easier.
Awesome. And Eric, any parting tips from you?
Any
free tips?
Yeah, I only have the 4.
We're out.
We need number 5.
Yeah.
That's number 5.
We're Logitech, we make stuff. And none of this stuff works without the video conferencing service providers that we all subscribe to, whether it's Microsoft or Zoom or Google or whomever else. These companies all have a vested interest in a great user experience, and they have tons of resources too. Some even have their own adoption services and customer success teams to help onboard people and come up with best practices. So there's a lot of free resources that you can access and cheap stuff that you can do that has nothing to do with ordering products from Logitech, whether it's a desk lamp at home or a table lamp on the floor. Maybe it's just taking an extra 30 minutes to think, how can I hide the cabling? Let's go ahead and put the cables through the grommet, through the raceway, because they're just strung across the top of the table. What can we do to make the technology disappear so that people focus on the team and not the tech? And that's something that each of us, we can get out of this on the air and do that before lunch. And we'll improve the user experience in a significant way.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much. It's now time to announce the winner of our prizes. So let's kick it back over to Chelsea one last time and find out who's walking away with cool stuff. Chelsea.
Prizes, 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 man. We've got so many winners today because we have so many prizes, so I'm gonna get straight to it. Our community engagement winners is what we like to call you folks that participate in my community post, whether it be a poll or an open-ended question. The folks whose stories I shared today earlier during our segment where I asked, are your users creeped out? Why or why not? You're gonna be getting a $10 Amazon gift card. Those stories that I shared were from Ian Adams, Sea Wills 14, and Unicorns, or Unicorns. Congratulations. And then our swag winners, because Logitech is coming through big with tons of prizes. We've got the $25 Amazon e-gift cards. Those are going out to the folks whose questions I asked live. You were put in the running, and here's who popped out. Jeff J111, Dan A7234, and Alan Stoddard. Congratulations. Then we of course have the pants optional, not off, pants optional, pants optional hoodie. This is going out to two picks. Lee and I made kind of the picks on these two for the Q&A questions that I did ask. Kay Skipper and Mark Payton, you guys are getting hooked up with the pants optional Logitech hoodie. Oh, but wait, there's so much more because we've got tons of grand prizes to give away, including one super grand prize. So to cut straight to the chase with our super grand prize, which is the Logitech Rally Systems Plus video conferencing system, that is going out to, drum roll please, Just Beth. Woohoo! Just_Beth. You won our super grand prize, but wait, there's more. We've got 3 more grand prizes to give away. And our grand prizes are going out to 3 lucky attendees of today's show. You're gonna win a Logitech Brio webcam. And those 3 grand prize winners are Daniel 7955, David Bolin 2, and BVI Josh. Woo! Congratulations to all of our winners. I know, in the studio they're like, should we clap or is that it?
That's prizes that we're giving away.
That's it. Those are all the winners. I know that I announced a bunch, so I'm going to throw those names into chat so that you know who won the prizes. Also, so that you know how to reach out to us, because the only way we're going to be able to hook you up with these great prizes is if you email us at ontheair@spiceworks.com with your contact info. That's how we're going to get the prize out to you. So give us a shout via email with your contact info so we can get it out to you. And before I pass it back over to Justin, I did want to say thank you from me and Lee, because we love hanging out with you guys in chat. We love getting all of the great questions today, and you really put Lee to work today, so thank you. We had, like I said, over 150 questions coming in that Lee transferred over to me so that I could read through them. So thank you for that, and thanks for hanging out, and back to you, Justin.
All right, thank you guys. Congratulations to all of our big winners. Again, tons of great questions. You guys killed it today. You guys were awesome. You guys also killed it today. Thank you guys. Big thank you to our panel today.
Thanks for having us.
Ben, thank you, absolutely.
Good to be here.
Ben, Jen, and Eric, as well as to Logitech for sponsoring today's event. I hope we get a chance to do this again sometime soon.
Bye,
We will be back next week. We actually have several shows in a row. We're going to be talking about VPN and mobile security, so you're not going to want to miss that. Should be a really good show. For more information about that episode and all things on the air, make sure to follow us in the community at community.spiceworks.com/ontheair. And until next time, guys, stay safe, keep it spicy, and we will see y'all back here next time. Take care, everyone.